we're going to spend today focusing on Marvel Studios and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And of course, with that said, we have to talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
15 seconds to drop. So what's our plan?
Great. Superheroes cannot be allowed to exist. I have no intention to leave my work unfinished. The world's upside down right now.
Where do we start?
Whole squad ready. We came here to see Jet. What you got? No, not on my.
Buck, I have a plan. Oh, yeah? What is it?
Is you ready?
Here we go again, huh?
We've been grinding hard on the job. Can't take that from us. Are you ready? Is you ready? You said you ready. Whole squad ready. Is you ready? Are you ready? Is you ready?
That little girl kicked your ass. Gotta get that first shot off before that bullet hit me.
See? That wasn't so hard.
Are you ready? Is you ready?
Okay.
You say you ready.
What are you doing?
Whole squad ready.
Are you having a staring contest?
Are you ready? Is you ready?
Just blink. Sweet Jesus. I mean, how old are you?
Now, this show is the 25th installment into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The series is created by Malcolm Spellman, and it's directed. All episodes are directed by Kerry Scoglin, and the series is starring Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Daniel Bruhl, Emily Van Camp, and Wyatt Russell. And so we just had episode 1 premiere this past week. It was entitled New World Order, and so this was initially supposed to be the first Disney Plus series to launch the I guess the lineup of series that they have coming for the MCU. However, global pandemic changed a lot of things, and WandaVision ended up being the first series that we saw. Of course, we've talked about that at length on this show. However, here we are now. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has finally arrived, and really, I think sort of one of the central ideas and premises behind the show is who's taking up the mantle of Captain America. You know, that's really sort of the conflict that's going to exist over these 6 episodes that we see over the next few weeks. So, Desmond, I want to start off with you specifically as we think about sort of our high-level non-spoiler thoughts before we talk about spoilers with this episode. Compared to the other Marvel Disney Plus series that have been announced that we sort of have talked about on the show and that we understand are coming down the pipeline, what was your excitement level specifically for this show in comparison to the other shows we've heard about?
Pretty high, to be honest. I knew that Falcon and Winter Soldier would be among the most high action of them. I knew whether it was effects or the set pieces would just be insane, because every movie that Falcon and Soldier have been involved with up until this point have been all the crazy effect kind of movies, whether it's Civil War, really the entire Captain America franchise, to be honest. And then that on top of just the nature of their characters. Like, you can't have those two characters without some sort of high level action. And so I would say it was pretty high, probably not the highest, only because I knew shows like Loki, there were certain creative choices that just make me excited to watch, something we've never seen before. But again, I knew the action with Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to bring it. So I would say it was pretty high, not the highest, but pretty up there, man. What about yourself?
Yeah, it feels like the most natural succession to Avengers Endgame, right? Like we got Spider-Man Far From Home, of course, which takes place 8 months after Avengers Endgame, but this feels a little bit more like a natural follow-up, because Avengers Endgame, the last scene of that movie is literally ending off with the characters of Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, and Bucky Barnes. And so I think it's interesting to see that we're now picking up with them specifically. And again, it seems like the conflict of the show, or at least one of them is going to be who takes up the mantle of the Shield. But pretty excited as well for this show. It's probably, I guess, ranking it amongst what I'm most excited about. It was probably 2 or 3, I would say, compared to some other shows. So definitely was looking forward to this premiere. Kevin, I want to ask you, like, why do you think that Marvel Studios decided that these 2 characters specifically should get their own series on Disney Plus?
So I actually went back and rewatched Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Captain America: Civil War, and watching it in hindsight, you can see the instant chemistry between the 2 characters. In addition to that, I really feel like you can pull a lot from both of them because we see that in, with the first episode. But I think Marvel saw that a little bit of the comedy and a little bit of the action that the 2 of them brought together, especially in the Civil War scene when they, try to fight against Spider-Man. I really feel like they saw some potential there that they could build off of.
Yeah, I agree. I think we definitely got a good look at just the banter that they could have. Like, there's always sort of that back and forth. Like they kind of respect each other, but they also still kind of hate each other at the same sense. And there was like those jealous moments that happened between them and Steve. Jarrell, man, how did you feel about watching this specific episode, this first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, compared to watching what we first saw from WandaVision, which is, obviously a completely different show in and of itself. It was like based in sitcoms and things of that nature. I know all of us have probably grown up watching sitcoms. So how did it feel watching this one versus watching, the first time when you saw WandaVision?
The whole pace was just different because so I'm actually kind of weird. I love WandaVision because it's really slow burning and was just like dialogue driven or whatever. But this action, I actually enjoyed this action. It was pretty much off rip, and I personally love seeing Anthony finally being like a lead and like a strong lead or whatever. I mean, so I feel like it was refreshing because he's been around since he was Papa Doc and 8 Mile. So
okay,
it's come a long way since the Papa Doc days.
Crossover. So to see him being like a lead in an action movie or a show was just refreshing. I just enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So I feel like this is gonna be a real entertaining series. To
I have another
being the lead.
Yeah, I have another question, just like for everybody, whoever wants to jump in. Like you brought up an interesting point there about Anthony Mackie and his character Sam Wilson being the lead of this show. Do you guys think that because he was sort of a sidekick to Captain America for a few movies, whether it was the Winter Soldier or Civil War, do you find it believable that he's now sort of the lead of his own series, that he's kind of the next guy up to possibly take on the mantle of Captain America? Because honestly, there were a few times he got his ass whooped throughout these movies. I'm not gonna lie. Like he caught some hands from the Winter Soldier, and he was a part of the battle in Civil War, when it was Team Cap versus Team Iron Man. And then, Iron Man kind of treated him like a little bitch at the end, with that whole sequence. So it was like, I don't know. It was kind of interesting to see again that, he got his own series. But do you guys think that, he's kind of believable in this role to be the lead? Des, let's start with you on that.
Yeah, I think part of that is the character development, that they're setting up for him, right? We seen in the trailer him training in the backyard with the Shield or, whatever's going on. So I think it's just really important and central to his character to build that up. Like that is the question that helps drive the TV show, right? Like can he even ask himself, the question. We know he does. Even at the end of Endgame, he was like, this isn't my shield. He was like, he's constantly questioning himself if he can do it himself. So I think that's a really important driving factor and what we're going to see here in the future.
Kev, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, to add on to that, if you go back to his introduction in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, he was at a lost point as a person. Prior to him becoming Falcon or an Avenger, he was just in limbo. So we're probably about to see that arc really take off for him from where he started and his trials and tribulations. So
yeah, speaking of being a loss, I really feel like, I don't know, it might have been a nice thing if Cap just like stuck around and showed him how to use the shield, maybe like give him a little bit of lessons and just like a way to like, hey man, you might best use it if you rotate it this way or if you throw it this way or whatever. I feel like that might have been useful, but I guess Steve wasn't supposed to be there to begin with, so he just kind of
man. He had Steve had a root beer float date with Peggy. Or
yeah, he had plans.
Plans.
Okay.
Yeah,
Plans in the
quote-unquote plans.
past.
Well, I think it's still yet to be seen what exactly those plans were, whether or not he just sat aside and let the world fall in disarray, or if, maybe he did some undercover work. We'll never know, or maybe we will. I don't know. We'll get there and we'll see. But let's jump into spoilers for this episode, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, if you haven't seen this, if you have not gotten a chance to check out the first episode, definitely go ahead and pause this right now, go watch it, and come back and check in with us to finish out this conversation. So Jarrell, you kind of mentioned that opening action sequence, man. It was pretty spectacular that we just like instantly were thrown into that. Like, it was no waiting, it was no anticipation as to whether or not we were going to get something within the first episode or later in the series. They just threw us right into there. And so we found out that Sam was pretty much after this criminal organization called LAF, and Batroc the Leaper, played by George St. Pierre, actually returned in this series, and we know that he made his first appearance in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Drew, I know you're a huge UFC fan, like the rest of us are, but you're kind of the guy that got me into it personally. What was it like seeing George St. Pierre back in this role?
Man, it caught me so off guard because like I used to like really not like GSP like back when I was younger. I'm like, yo, he keep winning, but to see how like he pretty
I think
much
that's what he's supposed to do.
he just kept winning against everybody I like though. So he keep beating everybody like man. Anyway. So it was great to see him reprise his role and just like pretty much see what he's doing, but like post retirement to see that like yo he have something else aside from just trying to fight in UFC on his whole agenda of his career. So to see him reprise the role, I was like, see he's taking his acting career very serious, and he pretty much killed this appearance too when he popped up. Like, he was very believable, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like, all right, I really don't know if Sam could really handle this situation. Even though it's an intro scene, it's like, I don't know. Like, this could be kind of dire right now. But
well, he got away again too. He seemed, his character always seems to get away. So he was not captured by Sam in this particular instance. So he probably will return. I know I had the feeling like watching it that the action looked spectacular. I thought it was great. But I was also thinking, like, damn, I really wish I could see this in a movie theater. Like, I know it's a Disney Plus show. The action was so good. It's like, man, it would have been really nice to see, again, Sam Wilson as a character. Now he's leading his own show. It might have been really cool to see that on a big screen sort of unfold. I think with this sequence too, it just kind of, again, to allude to your earlier point, it shows us that this series is going to have lots of different action sequences. It's not going to really be a slow burn. Although this episode was more character driven for sure. It was not full of action. It definitely focused more on the characters. So, after this sequence, we see that Sam ends up giving the shield to the Smithsonian, the same shield that Steve Rogers gave to him. It seems like he's not really wanting to, I guess, hold up the mantle of Captain America. The shadow and the legacy of Captain America looms too large over society. And I guess he just feels like, I don't know if he's not worthy or if he just feels like we don't need somebody to hold up this mantle. We need new heroes, like whatever that idea is. Des, what did you think in particular when you saw that, really at the beginning of the show, it's not Sam practicing with the shield, not him training to be Captain America. It's him saying like, oh, I don't want it.
Yeah, man. To be gone for 5 years and to lose your best friend who was literally the hope of the world, right? We're watching Endgame and nobody else says Avengers Assemble but Captain America. Like, imagine you're Sam Wilson, right? And in your mind, you feel like you have to live up to that thought. The guy that says Avengers Assemble, the person who's been there since the very beginning, And so it's like, again, I kind of talked about it, but it's like, this is not mine. I think that's really what it is. He's like, I can't, excuse me, like, who am I to say that this is mine? Even though Cap gave it to me, there's no, this shield represents way too much for me to handle. At least for me right now in this current state, I cannot live up to it. And so I think, that's where he is. And he's like, it belongs somewhere where everyone can see it. Not in the hands of anyone else. It's Cap's, and that's it. And so that was it. That's Sam's resolution there. He's like, it can't be mine.
Kevin, do you think that Sam is the right person to hold up the mantle, or should it be somebody else? Like, could it be a Bucky, or does Sam make the most sense to be that next guy up?
To me, it made all the sense in the world to make it, Sam, because they intentionally had Steve give it to him. especially Steve giving it to him in old age. Like for him to have gone back, but older Steve to come back and specifically give that to Sam and directly tell him, well, this isn't anyone else's. That's all you need to know. Now, why Sam doesn't want to take up that mantle, why he owns some Jon Snow type stuff, don't know, but that's where we are.
Oh man, well, we saw with Jon Snow, humility gets you killed. So I think
Exactly.
Sam should probably learn a lesson from there if he watches Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So continuing with his character again after that first action sequence, this is a really character driven episode where we're taking a more specific look into Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes more than we've ever seen before, really kind of based off of the idea that they've never had the opportunity or the time to really dive into these characters in previous movies because they've just been too crowded. Civil War has like 13 characters. We know Infinity War and Endgame has every comic book character you could probably have in a single movie. So there's not really an opportunity to showcase the backstory, especially because those have also been movies that have been 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it may be. Now we're dealing with a 6-episode event, which is probably going to end up being close to 6 hours. We can really spend some time fleshing out, sort of the backstories of these characters. And so that takes us to Delacroix, Louisiana, where we get to meet some of Sam's family. We meet his sister, and we also meet her 2 kids and, find out that he's an uncle. And he also talks about the fact that when he, was previously on Earth before the snap happened, they were little boys, but then he comes back 5 years later and they're like young teenagers, young men at this point. So it was really interesting to see this sort of transpire, I think, throughout the episode. Anybody can sort of jump in and think and answer this. Like, where do you think that they might be going with like Sam's family being a part of this series? Because that's something that I didn't personally expect to be a thing here. I didn't think we were going to get some of his family backstory. Where do we think that they might be going in future episodes with that stuff?
I mean, I don't know, man. Personally, I feel like down the line they might become, I don't want to use the word liabilities, but possibly casualties in a way. Not like, death or anything, but if they're introducing his family, it has to either get used against him or put him in a predicament of having to choose between them and potentially taking over the mantle of Captain America or filling in those shoes.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I didn't think about it that way, that there could be perilous times ahead for his family if they're involved, and his identity is not exactly hidden. So he's out there, sort of exposed. And so it wouldn't be necessarily that difficult for, I guess maybe Baron Zemo, because we know he's going to be, one of the bad guys in the show. And we know that Baron Zemo has a bone to pick with the Avengers because his own family got killed. So maybe there's a revenge play there specifically.
We saw how far he willing to take it to, deliver some smoke.
Absolutely. He was he was gonna sacrifice and do whatever he had to do in order to throw them off and divide the Avengers.
Yeah, I just thought I think the reason for introducing his family was to just, I guess, embed him and flesh him out as not only a character, but to explain the Black experience, right? Like, people need to know that he is a Black man with a family in Louisiana. Like, I think all this is very important. That route they're trying to take. We'll talk about the bank scene later, but it's like very clear that Marvel's like, this is a Black man who is trying to live up to the legacy of the white savior, you know what I mean? Like in this universe. And I think his family just helps drive that narrative. It's like, look, he has family too, and they're not a perfect family for these reasons. And it's like we've seen a lot of other people's families. A lot of people don't have family, in the MCU, but the ones that do, we see it, often enough. So I think that it was just part of that too.
Yeah, another thing that, again, the series format allows for is diving into those supporting characters that we normally would not have time for, and we don't get to see families all that often. So I do think it's an important thing. Let's talk about those financial bank issues. I mean, that was actually something that I wasn't expecting to see in this episode, but it's always one of those things that I wondered, how the hell do Avengers get paid? How do they make money? Like, what is it? Tony Stark that's bankrolling them? Is it Shield that has like a payroll? Is it just government contracts? Jarrell, when you saw that episode where he was, sort of like going to the bank and trying to get a loan for his family business, because his sister was, possibly going to sell their family boat that's been in their history for a long time. I mean, what did you think when you saw like, yeah, he's just dealing with like real normal problems?
Yo, this is the first time now, like I really like came to the grips like, yo, superheroes be broke. Like
They don't
They
got
were
some
like rappers, bro.
like unless you Tony or Bruce or whatever, like you ain't making money for real. And like one would think you would get like, yo, I just saved your life discount.
Like, yeah, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have this job right now. So like, hook me up. What's going on?
Right, like come on, like bro, you was built away for 5 years. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm the reason why you back here. Like, yo, let me get this loan. Like, I need like this amount of money. So seeing that like made me realize like, yo, so this is like real life. Like they deal with real life stuff outside of, you know what I'm saying, fighting aliens and monsters and all that. They still got bills. They still got to pay taxes, which is crazy to me. But I really appreciate MCU for like putting that in the script.
Kevin, could Tony Stark have gave him just a little money? Like, is that kind of a dick move to not pay these guys for, you know, I mean, he has the bank account, so why not offer up some change for their services?
If I were them, I wouldn't save shit else. I wish I might. Like, bro, we out here mopping up Hydra, and then we going home eating spam sandwiches and shit. Like, come on, bro.
Like, it's crazy. It's crazy because in the end game, Tony pulled up in that new Audi, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, the Avengers is getting money. You know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They having cocktail parties. I'm like, oh yeah, the Avengers getting money.
Or so we thought. I mean,
you know what? This makes a lot of sense of why Wakanda tried to stay hidden.
Hey, you know what? You might be
They
right.
had their own currency.
Yeah. They probably already knew ain't no money in this superhero shit. We're keeping our money in house, and that's the end of it. No conversations had. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciated seeing that side of it, because again, I've always wondered that. I know in the comics sometimes they've had like Tony Stark be the guy that's kind of bankrolling the Avengers, and so they're having some sort of like living off of that. But I mean, you know, Sam also kind of revealed here that he had like several government contracts, so he has some sort of government supplemental income that he's getting. So I guess he's not completely broke, but none of them, it seems like, are well off in any instance. So it raises a lot of questions. It raises a whole lot. Like, how did Wanda get that nice new car in WandaVision? I think it was like a nice new like 2019, 2020 red Buick or something like that. It's like, where you get that car from? Did you apply for a loan, or like what's going on here?
After being away for 5 years.
She right. Where your credit history?
She probably carrying the hell out of that loan.
No, she definitely did. She definitely used her carrying abilities in that loan, that loan process. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that. Hopefully they dive a little bit more into that. And so, you know, also with you know, sort of Sam's side of the story in this episode, we got another look at another sort of antagonistic organization, which they seem like they're going to be a bigger deal than the LAF, but the Flag Smashers. Now the Flag Smashers, they came in, you know, to the episode, I would say about 2/3 of the way through. It looks like they were doing some sort of robbery or something of that nature. We don't really know their motivation yet at this point. If I'm not mistaken, and Desmond, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you might know this more than me. I think Flag Smasher was one person in the comic books, but here they've made it into like a team of people that they're still following one person, and they might also be associated with Zemo. I don't think we exactly know that yet, but what do you think that their role is going to possibly be in the rest of this series, the Flag Smashers, as it relates to also another antagonist that we have, Baron Zemo, that's coming down?
Man, I have no clue, to be honest. This could go any way they feel like writing it. I just really like how they did turn a character into an organization. That's really cool, especially because the name, you could just throw an S on it, right? Flag Smashers, Flag Smashers. You could just literally turn it into a group. I think that's really dope that they did that. But who knows? They could last a long time. They could not last a long time. Bucky and Falcon could go in there next episode and wreak havoc, and that's the end of the Flag Smashers. And then Baron Zemo appears or something. Who knows? But I think they're definitely going to be interesting in terms of it's very clear they're political, right? It's like, and I think they'll dig more into that a little bit with their stance on what's happening in the world or whatever's going on. So I think they are going that direction, and I think, of course, this is going to be a super political show. So I think they're just kind of a component of that. But we'll see what more happens, man. I think the leader of the Flag Smashers is a woman now. So I think that's going to be dope if they, decide to blow that up in any direction, man.
Definitely, it'll be interesting to see how their role plays out. Let's talk about Bucky. So Bucky is he's going through it, y'all. He is
through it.
He's having some issues. He's obviously had a traumatic history. So we first see him in this episode really as a flashback or as a nightmare sequence. We see him back in his Winter Soldier days, and it looks like he's completing some sort of assassination mission of mostly a bunch of people that we don't know. However, at the end of the episode, he kills an innocent bystander who we find out later in the episode happens to be the son of a neighbor that Bucky has befriended named Yuri. So Bucky has murdered his son. Yuri does not know that, that Bucky is responsible for this, because again, this was all cooperative undercover stuff. Like, nobody really knew about the Winter Soldier. He's one of those government Hydra secrets, right? So we get that nightmare sequence, but then we also see him in therapy, and we find out that it's a condition of his pardon. So it seems like the Avengers, maybe Bucky is specifically, but I would probably guess the Avengers at large. It would seem like a lot of them that were former fugitives after Civil War, when they were, quote unquote, on the run, it seems like they might have been pardoned for helping to, save the world, bring back half of humanity. So with this, sort of like sequence of like seeing him in therapy, I mean, what are some of the reasons I think that we're taking a look at this side of Bucky at this point in the MCU? Like, it doesn't seem as if they're going to position him to be Captain America, because I think his past is just like all too much trouble. What do you foresee his role being specifically within this show, Kevin? Let's start with you on that question. Like, what could Bucky play in this specific story?
So when you look at the other movies, you can kind of get a sense that they've tried to humanize him. So like, if you go back to when Cap was, actively searching for him, like, aside from their storied friendship, he still saw the human side of who Bucky was. Hey, it wasn't him. He didn't know he was doing this. They take him to Wakanda, leave him there playing with sheep and lamb and getting his hair braided and all of that. And, you see him like being normal, like away from combat, away from trauma. And okay, you have what happens in Endgame and Infinity War, with the battle. But now we're at a point where I guess he's not only trying to make amends, but trying to find peace. He got the whole Troy Aikman haircut now. He's going on dates. Like, they're trying to humanize him.
Yeah, really trying to settle into somewhat of a normal life. I mean, we also know that he disappeared for 5 years as well, along with Sam. So, I mean, he's just really had a shitty life. I'm not really gonna pull it back any other way.
Sucks.
It's really been pretty trash, from sort of being a member of the army, serving his country. We thought he died. He did not die. He was, sort of captured and manipulated by Hydra, over the course of 90 years, and worked as an assassin for them. And we also know was responsible for the deaths of Tony Stark's parents, which led to a lot of the events in Civil War. So he's not having the most luck. Jarrell, do you foresee Bucky at some point in this show in the future? Because to Kevin's point, he's making amends. He's sort of like dealing with that past trauma. Do you foresee at any point he's probably gonna relapse and snap again? Sort of somebody take control of his mind again, and he ends up becoming the Winter Soldier, unfortunately, and murders more people.
I feel like Marvel is going to play with that, but I don't think it will fully happen. I feel like he's going to come close to being taken over, kind of like how like Vegeta was taken over by like Majin Buu for a second. I feel like it's going to be like that same type of little storyline with it. So
love the Dragon Ball Z reference there.
I feel like they're going to play with the idea of him, losing grasp, but he's going to hold on to some type of just being human and normal and fight through it. So he could finally break through his past or whatever and like be this brand new Bucky, that he's trying to fight to be right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We've kind of already seen him sort of have that moment of relapse in Civil War, and I think we're a little bit further along in his development, especially after Wakanda. And it seems that they were able to do something to heal his mind. Like, it's not 100% healed, but I think with the science and technology that they have in Wakanda, they've been able to make him better than he was before. We also see him trying to live a normal life. He went on a date. It might have been the most awkward date ever.
Man.
It didn't really work out. I don't think he's ready for all that. Des, I want to ask you, man, how do you think, what do you think Bucky's profile on Tinder or Hinge says? Well, what's his bio?
Oh man, first of all, does he have a picture at all? It's probably empty.
It's just a black silhouette.
Bruh.
Wait. Now y'all know he got the profile picture with the gas station glasses, like the hat in the driver's seat.
Probably.
Now, is it the Troy Aikman haircut like you said, or is it the long flowing Wakanda hair after he got those fresh products in his head?
Nah, bro. You know that one hat that all of the Avengers wear when they're undercover or discreet in public. Is that
Wanda's wore it? Yeah, they all wear it.
Black Widow jacket. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah, for sure,
bro. I don't even know what he could put in the bio. He probably put step 3 of his therapy process.
Oh my god. I think it probably just says WS. Like,
I'm dead. Just that's it.
Yeah.
WS. People probably be swiping the heck out of him if they think he's real. It's like, is he real? I don't know.
Exactly.
Hey, y'all think he got Army? Y'all think he got Army veteran tags on his car?
Oh yeah. He has to.
Ain't no way.
But he was a vet though. Why wouldn't he? I mean, but I don't know. It's interesting to think about. But the date didn't go all that well. He's clearly not really ready to immerse himself back in that world again just yet and date frequently. They kind of alluded to the fact that he's been on several dates, and he obviously he tried the online dating thing. It did not really work out for him. I kind of felt bad for that girl because she seemed really into him. I'm like,
bro,
hey, she was kind of
dipped.
Yeah, he was just out of there. He was like, yeah, I'm not really here for this shit. I can't listen to you talk no more. But she was trying to do something. She was, she brought out the games and everything. Although it was kind of, I don't know, it was a little old fashioned for him to bring some roses to a first date for a girl he doesn't even know. That was a little old fashioned, but I guess he really came up to the times of how things are done now.
Hey, apparently like a lot of women still like, gifts on the first date. I've been seeing that going around. They're like,
you about to open a real big can of worms here if we start talking about gift exchanges.
Well, I actually had a hot take. I'm more concerned for the girl than anything. Like, they didn't I know she asked about the gloves, but you saw this dude earlier eating sushi with gloves on. Now y'all playing Battleship. He still got on leather gloves, and she didn't think nothing of it. Yeah,
man,
it's her. I don't trust at this point.
Yeah, you don't watch the gloves.
The gloves is a interesting touch. I mean, we know why he has to wear them, but it's also I don't know. Maybe they would have figured out like a prosthetic situation at this point. It would have been interesting to see that. It's unfortunate to see that he wasn't able to make it a more fruitful experience, I suppose. But nonetheless, again, as I mentioned earlier, we found out in the nightmare that one of the people that Bucky killed on one of his previous missions happens to be the son of his neighbor, Yuri, which seems like one of his only friends at this point. It doesn't seem like Bucky and Sam have been in communication with each other, at least up until this point. Obviously, we know that they will come together at some point in this show in the future. But Yuri might be like one of his only friends. So how do you think that might play? And Des, I'll start with you. How do you think that might play into the storyline of the show moving forward? Do you think that ultimately Yuri's going to find out like this is the man that's responsible for killing my son? Or is that something that's just, I think, more so to illustrate the horrors of what Bucky had to endure and the actions and the missions that he had to carry out in his past?
Yeah, I think Yuri is going to find out what Bucky did because Bucky's demons, man. He can't keep having these nightmares. He can't keep lying about it to the therapist. I think this is going to be a big part of his arc, being able to tell Yuri what happened to his son and who he is, and to come into terms with that, man. That's really what I think is going to happen, because if not, I think, again, he could be in the middle of the battlefield having those same demons and it mess him up and he lose the fight, or something goes wrong. So I think he's definitely gonna have to go ahead and come to terms with what he has going on.
Got you. Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely gonna come up at some point really soon. Maybe even like towards the end of the episode, or not the end of the episode, but the end of the series. So I think it'd be interesting to see if they dive more into that, or if it's something that's held off. It's just more of a, like, we know it as an audience, but the character specifically doesn't know. But I think we'll definitely see. So let's talk about the final part of the show, which is kind of the big cliffhanger of this episode that happened, is the reveal that there is a new Captain America. The government has handpicked their own Captain America, and it is John Walker. And if you don't know John Walker, in the comics, he was known as U.S. Agent, which again was a sort of a handpicked government Captain America. He's not really been a villain in the comics per se, and I don't know if he'll be a villain here either. But he is in some sense the antagonist, because Sam, willingly gave up the shield to the Smithsonian. He's obviously been working with the government to say, like, yeah, it's probably better that we just don't have a Captain America. We just need new heroes. We need new people to help save the world. But it looks like that they've kind of gone behind his back. The Secretary of Defense and the president, they're very much involved in this. So, Kevin, I'm gonna start with you, man. What did you think when you saw? I mean, it's no other way to put it. This real off-brand, great value version of Captain America. Like, when he came out, what did you think about this reveal?
Trash. Like, the whole press conference. It obviously seems they used Cap's actual shield. So that was like a terrible touch. That's probably why Sam was making the same face he made at the end of 8 Mile, or Anthony Mackie, I should say, but because he was tight. So like,
yeah, real disappointed.
It just, hey man, like, I don't know what they thought they were doing or why they thought this was a good idea. I get there, they need a mascot, a symbol of hope or something, but yeah, this ain't it, man. This ain't it.
Yeah, he just doesn't look heroic. I'm sorry. That's just that's the only way I could put it. He just looks too plain. The mask doesn't fit his face. His face is like too wide. I don't really get like the facial structure. Everybody has been saying, well,
you know how like for like little kids' birthday parties, you hire like the Avengers or something to like show up. That's exactly
the one you call. It's the one you call out the yellow pages to come to the birthday party. Like, yeah, we just need somebody for 2 hours. Show up. Yeah,
that's Lieutenant America.
Right.
Commander America.
Commander America.
Same poses in every picture. Do that or something. Like, yeah.
I'm wondering if he can even fight. Like, does he even have the physical athletic ability? Like, do you think that he's actually like formidable on the battlefield and like combat?
If he's really U.S. agent, he is. If not, that man is an actor.
He's just an actor that they hired.
He is the good version of the Mandarin. He's just an actor. He's just there, doing what he has to do to get the paycheck.
Yeah, he might just be a face. We see in one of the scenes that have been a part of like the trailers, he's like showing up at like high school football games. He's like very much supposed to be the face. He's probably not going to actually do any sort of mission work. I think that they obviously have their own units and their own teams that can still do like the actual mission work day to day. But this Captain America is just probably to be a symbol of hope. But no, he looks pretty ass. He looks pretty ass. I don't think that he's I don't know where they found him, or like you say, he probably just an actor that they've already sort of like worked with, and they're bringing him to be this person. But it'll be interesting to see at least how obviously this new chosen Captain America might be in direct conflict with Sam. And I guess to just like sort of wrap up the conversation in terms of like this episode and where the show might go in the future. Des, let's just start with you again. Like, what do you anticipate? Two questions. Do you anticipate, one, that this is going to be sort of a worthwhile show that is looking at these two characters specifically? And two, by the end of it, just as an early prediction, I guess, just to like have fun with that, by the end of it, do you foresee Sam being the guy to be Captain America at the end of episode 6?
In the first question, I think this will be a worthwhile show, most definitely. Just as a prediction, I think the way it's going to go, I think U.S. Agent is going to kind of be the face of all the work that Sam and Bucky do, right? I think Sam and Bucky are going to get some shit done. They're going to be some bad guys, and they're going to be like, "Good job, U.S. Agent." I think that's exactly what's going to happen until here comes the end of the season. Something happens. There's a camera somewhere. I don't know. People be like, "Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Actually, you've been doing this the entire time." And they find out that like Sam is really that guy, and he finally steps up into the mantle of Captain America as Captain Falcon. I think that is what is going to happen. And so that is my prediction, man. I think, like you said, I think it's going to be worthwhile. We've been with these characters for a while. We're getting a lot of good content already in the first episode, and I think we're in for a good 6 episodes. It's not like it's long either. A long time we have to be with them, but I think it will be worthwhile in the end.
Kevin, what do you think Baron Zemo's role is going to be here? We haven't seen him yet, but we do know that he is coming at some point as a returning villain from Civil War, and he's responsible for dividing the Avengers. What's his motivation now at this point?
So on my conspiracy board, I think he's about to bring a whole bunch of anarchy. Reason I say that is, one, we don't really know what happened to him during the blip. Like, because technically he was a prisoner when we last saw him, and he seemed fully content with what he had done because he broke him up. But we don't know if he was, snapped away, and if he was, like, did he come back in that contraption that they had him in, or, and clearly he's going to adopt the traditional mask from the comics and unleash a bunch of hell. With that being said, I'm expecting him to amplify the damage he had previously done. Now, does that include capturing, I don't know, like a U.S. agent, or, does that mean going after Sam's family? Who knows? But I think he's about to unleash a lot of anarchy. And I really think that he's at a stage where he doesn't really care anymore. What are they really going to do to him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be, I think it's pretty fascinating of how he's not been a physical foe for the Avengers. He's been more of a methodical villain for them, and he didn't have to really physically do anything in order to divide that team so much so before Infinity War. So I think he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I'm glad that they're going to bring the mask back. Jarrell, just like, as final thoughts on this show, so I asked Desmond, do we think, Sam is ultimately going to be Captain America? I want to take it a step further with you. Do you think, let's say that Sam does become Captain America by the end of this, like he officially takes up that mantle. Do you then foresee him actually being like the leader of the Avengers? Like whenever they decide to do another Avengers film and bring that team back together, similar to how Steve Rogers was the, really kind of the heart of the team and also like, I think a battlefield sort of leader for them. Do you think that Sam's going to play that same role if he does become Captain America?
I feel like he probably end up being kind of more so not the official lead, but more so, saying like you always have that one guy on the team that's been around the longest, and he may not be the leader, but he's that one that gives you the insight or the background information to like, or give you the game to like pretty much achieve what you're trying to achieve. So I feel like he won't be like the official leader, but he will be like that side character that pretty much who the real official leader will like go to for advice or look up to in a way, since he's been around the longest and got the most knowledge. Aside from like or whatever.
He definitely has a lot of experience at this point, so that could be like a really big mentor role. I mean, they also introduced in the series, I forget his actual like character's name, but a guy that eventually, when Sam becomes Captain America, this new guy becomes Falcon and takes up that mantle. They had him in this first episode. I unfortunately cannot remember his name right now. So you might be right that they might be sort of building up to Sam being like a little bit more of an experienced member, maybe not the face of the team, maybe not a leader, but we'll see. It's been interesting to kind of unpack and think about this. So the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's obviously a lot more to come with that. Still 5 episodes left. Those are our thoughts on the series and the episode that we got so far, episode 1, New World Order. So if you've checked this out, hit us up on social media at 2 Black Nerds and let us know what you think.